False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fanside.com. I'm joined today by a man who puts the gust in Augusta, the men in pimento cheese, but most certainly not the leave in Nico Iamaleava. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Rory won a championship. He got the Grand Slam. How are you?
Dude, Rory's a Masters champion. Nico is not a Tennessee Volunteer. What a wild weekend that we just had. I was expecting to just, settle in, work, watch some golf, and better than most that the Masters is one of the hardest working weeks for me out of the year, and so I was, expecting that to be the case. Then lo and behold, we get the Nico news coming into the weekend. So good times all around.
Yeah, man. It's like for me, it's the start, the whole month of November basically kills me every
Oh
year.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, let's
Uh,
be clear. I've got a lot of these times of the year where I'm working hard. So yeah, it's tough. Tough life out here.
yeah, the Masters, Rory won it. I think it was his 11th or 13th try,
17th actually. Yeah,
17th.
17th. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was starting to get up there and feel like, is Aaron Judge going to break the AL home run record? Is what
Yeah.
was like some other like what was like there was like a pitcher. I think it was Maddox. He had like 6 starts in a row to get to 300. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so it was his 17th start overall at the Masters, but it was his 11th try at the career Grand Slam, if that makes sense.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that the seventh my like there's so many cool stats about Rory and him pulling this off. And one of my favorites is he is he took the second longest try, or sorry, second highest number of tries to win his first Masters in Masters history. Only
Yeah.
Sergio, who took 19 tries, took more times to get it than him. So, pretty historic. And I'm a big Rory guy, have always been. And I might have shed a tear or two yesterday. It was a good day in the golf world.
I respect that. I'm watching the Braves play on one TV, the Masters, and I just saw Chris Sale and Rory basically almost choke it away, but
Oh
holding
yeah,
back the tears. Rory got it. I wonder what he's going to make his meal. Is it going to be like Irish cuisine, maybe just Irish breakfast? That's what we're having.
dude, just make some crow so everyone has to eat it, man. That's what they got to do.
And speaking of eating crow, I don't know if that's what's going on with Jimmy Haslam, the Tennessee Volunteers, or Nico Iamaleava, but we obviously fall start with our first and 15. We're going to go with some Where's the Money Lebowski? We are truly living in a simulation. The former five-star recruit from California is leaving Tennessee after 2 years over some NIL dispute. It's utterly insane. Tennessee would not back down. He no-showed to practice on Friday. He's off the program. This basically knocks Tennessee out of the playoff picture completely. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. This is wilder than Beck leaving for Miami.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, because there was at least a chance that Beck was leaving regardless. You know what I mean? Like, there was a chance he could have gone to the NFL. Like, that was it. That was something that Georgia was prepared for. Tennessee is not prepared for this. Like, you're going to have to go into the spring portal and get someone because your two quarterbacks on the roster of note are George McIntyre, a true freshman who I do think is going to be good, but like he's a true freshman, and then I believe it's Jake Merklinger. If I don't know how to pronounce that. That's probably wrong, but that's close enough. And he's a redshirt freshman, another four-star who could be good, but like they've thrown a combined 9 passes in college football. That's not what you want if you're trying to
No.
compete for a college football playoff spot. But like on the flip side of this, like Tennessee's getting really screwed in this. Like I respect Tennessee for standing up to their guns and being like, Nico, what have you done? You were terrible in the SEC last year. We're not paying you the $3 million going rate that Carson Beck and these guys are getting because what have you done to earn that? You're still making a hell of a lot of money. I believe it was like $2.5 million per season. So like what is he trying to accomplish here? I respect Tennessee for not backing down from that. And also, I mentioned to you pre-show, Josh Pate at 24/7 Sports last night on his show mentioned that he had heard that Nico was trying to negotiate NIL money in the college football playoff, like like basically threatening to hold out of the college football playoff. Like, man, with all this stuff coming out, this is buyer beware in the transfer portal. That's for sure.
Yeah, caveat emptor for 100%. Like they put his name next to that. Two things that Cody's gonna struggle to pronounce, but knows it's not a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Oh man, but so the biggest name in the portal outside of him would be former Iowa starter Brendan Sullivan,
Mhm.
who's going to lose his job to Mark Gronowski coming in from South Dakota State. that could be a good pickup for them, but we'll obviously see what happens when the spring transfer portal window opens. I believe it opens tomorrow on tax day, April 15th, throughout the rest of the month.
Mm,
For the first few years of this in the dawn of NIL, it was very much a supplemental NFL draft sort of way to build your team, but
yeah.
like this seems like there's going to be a lot of openings here. There may be some clarity with the quarterback rooms both in Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. It looks like it's Ty Simpson going to be there in Alabama.
Hmm.
Gunnar Stockton played really well. So did Puglisi. Georgia's receivers can't catch.
Rinse
And
and repeat with that one, baby.
it's like you read the shampoo bottle, rinse, lather, repeat. You just keep doing it, and you're in the
Yep.
shower for a day.
We want guys who can run. We don't worry about their hands.
No, not at all. And then it's still kind of up in the air. I think it's what Julian Sand really performed well in this
Mm,
in the spring practice. Lincoln Connell just looked more complete throughout this, but like we will see something open up. We mentioned kind of like where Nico could potentially go. The one team that recruited him out of high school that's more likely in play is probably Oregon
mm.
because Dan Lanning loves the transfer portal as much as he loves blasting his wife's native likeness on his ribs.
That's right.
So like what Alabama's not going to get one, Georgia's not going to get one, and Ohio State's not. They've got, like I said, they've got their three teams. They're trying to figure out who they've got amongst these like eight players, so to speak.
Yeah, and like the other thing about Nico is he's really not putting himself in an advantageous situation by doing this because let's not forget, and I'm sure like I know you know this, but just for the listeners out there, the transfer portal rules have changed this year for the SEC. If you transfer within the SEC, you have to sit out a year. Like if he transferred to an SEC school, he can't play this year. So like that's a like you're already cutting off like one power conference. There's only four now, so now you're down to three power conferences that you can go to. And you mentioned Oregon, the other team that seems like they are at least interested because USC and Notre Dame have both kind of publicly said like we don't want this. That actually doesn't surprise me. I'll unpack that
No.
here in a second, but like UCLA seems like they might be the guy and or might be the program that is interested on the West Coast there outside of Oregon. That makes a lot of sense to me. UCLA needs something that's kind of just like a shot in the arm. Perhaps Nico could be that. But for Notre Dame, like you look at the culture that Marcus Freeman's built and you look at all this drama that's going on with Nico. You know, I mentioned buyer beware. I'm pretty sure Notre Dame looked at the situation and was like, we're so good. Like, we're not dealing with that. And I also think if you're Lincoln Riley, that's actually a mature decision on his part to be like, yeah, the last thing I need in this program in the state that it's currently in is another distraction.
Yeah, and Jaden Maeva played pretty well down
Yeah.
the stretch there. He had starts there with I think under Barry Odom there at UNLV beforehand. We'll
Yeah.
talk about UNLV later in the show. North Carolina Tar Heels may have been tied to it too, but it looks like UCLA has usurped it. Again, Deshaun Foster did a lot better than we thought in his first year there, but they need some juice to kind of overcome losing Dante Moore to Oregon. And
Yeah.
eh, again, like I had Nico. I was so high on him last year, thinking like he's going to be a Heisman contender. I had him finishing second behind Dylan Gabriel.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I just saw him play against Oklahoma. I'm like, this is DJU. It's
Yeah.
I can't unsee it. And there's like no self-awareness here. His first name might as well be Russell because every person named Russell doesn't have self-awareness I've ever
It's
met
true.
or
It's
so a
true.
celebrity. What celebrities? Maybe I met some people that have named Russell that are decent, but like Russell Brand, we can't talk about him anymore. Russell Westbrook, we know about him.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, Russell Hammond, he's a golden god. There's somebody else too. Russell from the league.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he's trying to get like 3 million. I guess the price has changed, but like Carson Beck's been a far better college player than him.
Yeah.
Darian Minsow's a lot more consistent, and then Bryce Underwood was a much better recruit than he was coming out.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, I was actually thinking a good bit about Bryce Underwood and specifically like these quarterbacks who like Nico, like Bryce Underwood, who are getting a ton of money out of the like in NIL coming out of high school before you've ever touched a college football field.
Right.
And I do wonder if we see teams, I think we may already be seeing it to some degree, but I do wonder if we see teams exercise a little bit more caution there, just because you're setting yourself up for this. Like as much as I still believe that players should be paid. Like I'm not saying we go back to the old model, but this is still the Wild West. This is still like kind of lawless with how you can operate this. Like this is the first hold in that we've seen in terms of NIL and college football. And like I'm sure it's not going to be the last, but I think that situations where we do see this moving forward, it's going to be similar situations. Someone who was a highly touted recruit who, when they were paid, at market rate for a quarterback, but then the market changes and they're like, okay, well, I need more money or else I'm gone. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, brother, what have you done? Like you redshirted 1 year and then you played 1 year, and we snuck into the college football playoff basically by accident.
Yeah, it's so much to unpack here. I was sitting here, I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm writing this on Friday. I'm like, I don't think he's gonna go. And then lo and behold, it all turned itself on the head by late morning, early afternoon on Saturday with the Pete
Yep.
Thamel tweet. So just two things I thought of here. If you've got anything else to unpack here before we really dive into this. First things first. Okay, besides the fact that like it's a really bad look optically, what other team is he going to go to that's going to be comparative, if not better, than Tennessee? That's why I said Oregon. Like
Yeah.
Oregon's essentially that level. The other teams that he was tied to out of high school with Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State, it's that level, but I don't think that they're serious players.
Yeah.
So like he's going from a place that's not doesn't have a Tim Banks defense, doesn't have a Dylan Sampson at running back. So you're downgrading there. It's putting more money on you or more pressure on you. It's what happens in the NFL when you pay. This is why I'm so down on them paying Brock Purdy so much money. That
Mhm.
money can't go to somebody else. He
Right.
has to elevate and carry them. Maybe he can, but we're both shorting that. And the other thing that really bothers me about this is like he's gonna have to he can't go to the SEC. It doesn't make sense at this point. Like, so he's got to go to like one of the other power threes, and like he's going to be going to like a lesser team in a lesser league. Maybe that makes him better in some ways, but it doesn't seem like you're taking away some like fair winds behind you, and they're blowing your face now.
No, 100%. Like, man, if you're not going in the SEC and like these Big Ten situations that you would want to go to, like, frankly, if I'm Oregon, I'd rather have Dante Moore. I'd rather see what that is than I would bringing in Nico. Like, I think like Dan Lanning does love the transfer portal. There's no doubt about it. But I also think that Dan Lanning also values culture. Like, I think he's trying to build a different culture in Oregon. It hasn't quite taken to the level that you would want it to, but like he is trying to bring a little bit of that Georgia culture to Oregon. I guarantee you, even if the transfer rule wasn't in place, like Kirby would be like, "Nah, we're good here at Georgia." Like they wouldn't be dealing with that either. So I can see Dan Lanning following suit there, and like the my main takeaway is Nico is going to be downgrading in situation because anywhere he could stay level or go or upgrade is just not feasible at this point. Like it's just not. And man, I hope it works out for him because I'm highly skeptical that it does. Like, we were coming into next season and we were going to be looking at Nico as, okay, is he going to come out in the 2026 draft? I think this actually makes it a real possibility that we don't see him in the draft until 2027, if then.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Because you made me think of two other things. So I think it was what the 2020 recruiting class, I guess, the top five quarterbacks. Every single one of them has transferred at this point, with the exception of Arch Manning. So you've
Right.
had Malachi Nelson go from USC to Boise State to now UTEP.
Yeah,
Nico Iamaleava,
I was trying to remember where he went from Boise State. Thank you for reminding me. UTEP.
first on top of the world, now getting toppled on. This is false start.
That's right.
And then you got Nico Iamaleava leaving Tennessee. And then there's two other guys on there too. I think Dante Moore was in that as well.
Dante
UCLA.
Moore and God, I'm totally blanking on the other one. I know Aiden Childs was like sixth or seventh in that class, and
Yeah.
he obviously transferred, but that was a different situation, obviously. And honestly, like
Oh, it's
looking,
Jackson. It's Jackson Arnold. That's it.
yes, that's it. You're 100%.
Yeah, just a lot of man. I don't know what they're evaluating anymore out of high school.
I don't either, and like it, yeah, it's getting wild out here.
My last little thing before I throw it over to you, if you got anything else here, is you're leaving Tennessee this season. You have one of the easiest and most navigable schedules in the SEC. You open up with Syracuse, who's going to pull back a little bit. Obviously, Fran Brown's getting a lot of investment and stuff from the athletic department, but this is not going to be, we're not going to see the Orange win 9 games.
Right.
You get Arkansas at home. That's a game that you're going to be thinking, okay, we can't lose them again. You get Georgia at home early. Florida's not quite there. Maybe they can get you. You're not. I mean, besides what I think it's Mizzou, and Mizzou might be the only team in the SEC with an easier schedule than them. It's like Ole Miss, Tennessee, Mizzou.
Yeah, I think that's right. And like, yeah, like you're just leaving a good situation, man. Like, I know we take some shots at Tennessee. It's not. mean-spirited, at least in my case. Like I'm sure sometimes as a Georgia fan, you might take a mean-spirited shot here and there,
Of
but you
course.
but you respect Tennessee. Like
Yeah.
Tennessee's program is in a very good spot right now. And it's a program that's in a good spot. It's a schedule that's advantageous. Like you were going to be like if you elevated yourself, you were going to be a high draft pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Like that was going to happen. You are too
Yeah.
talented physically to not be the case. Now you're just raising a ton of question marks, which is really tough. My final thought, and I want to see what you think about this. I thought of a place that is definitely a downgrade in situation, but that I think might make the aggressive play that would make sense. Syracuse. I think
Yeah.
Fran Brown kind of just targeting these high level guys who Syracuse probably would not have a chance with otherwise. Very similar to Kyle McCord in that like Kyle McCord was just kind of run out of Columbus and it was like, okay, I just need to go somewhere where I'm going to be comfortable. If Syracuse can get the NIL money to do it, I think that would make a lot of sense and actually like really set Fran Brown's footprints in a good spot moving forward at Syracuse.
That's a really good one. And then they open with him in Atlanta, 4 miles away from me. That would be,
Yeah.
oh my God. That would seriously change the paradigm with Syracuse. That I high key like that. I think that's a great play here.
Yeah, again, probably won't happen, but I like the fit a lot.
I like the fit and I like counting to 10. You want to count to 10? Let's
Let's
count to 10.
go.
TIN 10. I wrote about this for fanside.com on Friday. Basically, the programs that I think indirectly benefit from this the most. Like these are teams that we don't think are going to get Nico Iamaleava, but are teams that like, oh, because he left Tennessee, this is to their benefit. You know what my list is. I can't wait to see yours. Let's do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You go ahead and start. You go ahead and start.
Okay, at number 10, I have the Iowa State Cyclones. I
Okay.
believe that I have Iowa State winning the Big 12, but because Tennessee, with them losing Nico, that removes a team that was I had in the playoff mix. This opens up the possibility of the Big 12 getting two teams in. So
Mhm.
Rocco Becht is again a quarterback that like we're really high on. He's not creating this sort of chaos. We know Matt Campbell. We think this might be the year that he finally breaks through. If Sherrone Moore doesn't make it at Michigan or if Lincoln Riley fails at USC, that's the first name I call.
Yeah,
I'm pretty bullish on Iowa State, but like then again, they could lose Farmageddon to Avery Johnson and Chris Kleiman in Dublin, and we'll see.
it's
But
true.
like this opens up an opportunity for the Cyclones to get into the playoff a little bit more than I thought they would. All right, and for the record, I have them in already.
No, 100%. I like that. I have some of that coming here in a little bit. At 10, I have Indiana. And
Okay.
we haven't talked a ton about Indiana other than saying that they're going to pull back. I still kind of maintain that, but I'm also leaving a little bit of grace that I think Kurt Cignetti's a damn good football coach. I think Fernando Mendoza's a damn good quarterback. And like there's a world where they don't fall off like as dramatically. And I think the big takeaway I have is if Tennessee really doesn't like adequately answer the quarterback position, there's a world where like one of these spots that you and I specifically were kind of reserving for like an SEC team, that becomes a Big Ten team. Like we get another Big
Right.
Ten team that kind of sneaks in there. So has as good a chance as anyone to be able to do that, especially coming off last year. Their schedule is still pretty easy. Like, yes, you have to play Oregon and Penn State this year. Uh, if you clip one of
That's
those,
fine.
or
Yeah.
even if you go 10-2, like 10-2 would still have a win at Iowa if you were to win that one. So like the schedule's a little bit tougher, but if Indiana maintains, I still think they can navigate it.
That's a great one. I think I had them just on the outside looking in here, but like you're absolutely right. Indiana was the fourth best team in the Big Ten last year.
Mhm.
We would venture to guess that they're still probably top third, so a top six team in that league, and that opens up the possibility for them to retain their spot. A lot of us are of the belief that like they're going to lose it, but maybe Tennessee loses it, and then maybe the SEC only gets 3 or 4 teams in. Indiana makes it like 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten. I really like that.
Yeah.
At number 9, I've got the LSU Tigers. Again, like there's a boatload of SEC teams that benefit from this. Garrett Nussmeier is probably my QB1 here. This is the year after the Brian Kelly pop year. I don't know if they can play a lick of defense. Obviously, they're dealing with some emotional tragedy from over the weekend and everything
Yeah.
like that. A lot of players are affected. LSU schedules middle of the pack in the SEC. They
Mhm.
can take advantage of it. It really comes down to how well they play South Carolina and Ole Miss on their schedule, like in Alabama in that part. But like, I think LSU benefits, but I think that there's teams in the SEC that benefit more than the Bayou Bengals.
I think that's fair. My list is pretty SEC top heavy. But I share the same sentiment regarding LSU. Which you'll see when I get there. At nine, I have Miami, and it's kind of the we've kind at least I personally have looked at the ACC as a one bid league, and if there is going to be a second bid, Miami has the best chance, in my opinion, to kind of
Right.
vie for that. Well, now you have that spot that's kind of opened up, so like that second spot becomes more likely, kind of like what you were saying with Iowa State and the Big 12 at large, like that kind of opens things up for them to be able to kind of take that spot. So, do I believe Miami can do it? No, but it is an advantageous situation for them to be able to do it.
Yeah, they were 11 for me. They were the first round.
Yeah.
Indiana was 12. But like that's the same sort of thing. You think like Clemson's for sure in, and they're looking about four other teams in the ACC that could, and Miami is the one that has the highest variance, which kind of propels them up.
Yeah.
I like that. I respect that. But do not have them on my list, obviously.
Yeah.
Number eight, Michigan. I think this is all about Bryce Underwood really showing what it could do. Sherrod Moore finally being convinced that this is his team. Again, like I'm a lot higher on Michigan this year than I probably should be. But
You
like
and me both, brother. You and me both.
I mean, like I think I have them as like the fifth best team in the Big Ten, and maybe that helps them get in. Like I would have like Indiana at like six. So Michigan's right there. They benefit indirectly because of this.
No, and I have Michigan a bit higher on here. At eight, I cheated a little bit, and that's probably why I was able to get Indiana and Miami in here. I have the Big 12. I didn't name a Big 12 team. I
Okay,
just have the Big 12.
that's fair.
And it's the same point as you were making though, because we've kind of looked at the Big 12 and we've said it's kind of going to be a free for all at the top. Who's going to win this league and who's going to get that college football playoff berth? But this opens the door for another Big 12 team to get in there. Like we saw teams like BYU, like Iowa State, like knock on the door last year, but not quite be able to crack through. This gives them the opportunity to crack through when you have an SEC team that ostensibly is dropping out of the race. And like there is a world where the SEC, like these teams that we're going to talk about throughout the rest of this list, where they just don't necessarily match up and live up to what they need to be able to make the college football playoff. Like disappointments happen every year in every league, including the SEC. And so if that happens and these Big 12 teams like maintain and you have multiple teams at 10 and 2, that's going to make it much more likely that two teams get in.
Yeah, the top half of the Big 12 benefits. It's basically like Baylor and Texas Tech are better, which would include BYU, K State, Iowa State, Arizona State. I don't know, maybe Kansas.
Yeah.
Kansas.
And,
Like,
Colorado, we got to mention
yeah,
Colorado.
like those sort of teams, like they all kind of benefit together. I don't think you cheated. I think you were just smart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I have no clue who's going to win the Big 12. I truly have no earthly idea who is winning the Big 12. So it would feel foolish for me to pick a Big 12 team because I don't know who's going to win the league and I don't know who's going to finish second. I don't know who's going to finish third through eighth. Like, I just don't know.
We don't know. We just do. That's what we
Yeah,
do.
that's right.
At seven, I've got Texas. I think that they're pretty much a lock to make it in anyway. So this doesn't help them as much as other teams in the SEC. What I think it does is it basically eliminates a team. Excuse me.
You're
Yeah,
good, man. I'm gonna
frogs
have to
aren't
do that
frogs
at
are.
some point. I promise you. So
I know it's fine, but like it essentially eliminates a team that could potentially meet Texas in Atlanta. Like I would have Texas and Georgia like probably getting there. Tennessee was like knocking on the door. If Tennessee moves out, and that basically takes away a chance for it being Georgia and Tennessee rematch or something, some other variation of that. So this helps Texas essentially get a top six seed.
no, I like that. I will say I left teams that that we consider like either college football playoff locks or close to it. Excuse me. See, I told you it was coming.
That's fine.
I left those off of my list because I thought that I looked at this with my list, kind of the benefit of you being able to take Tennessee's spot or being able to like have a situation where you're able to take advantage of them not having a spot in the playoff, as opposed to like it sets up the road easier to like whatever playoff spot you were already going to have anyway. So specifically Georgia and Texas, not on my list. But that's why. Like I fully agree that it is advantageous for them, but I think it's just it in the way I was looking at the list, just a different ballpark of what how it helps them.
A lot of people benefit from this. It's like 20
Yeah.
teams, very, very much so. And that's how that goes. So who did you have at seven?
At seven, I have Alabama, and I'll go ahead and tell you, I have LSU at six. So I have Alabama and LSU at six, or 7 and 6, and I think the reason for that is I kind of view the program similarly. I'm a little bit higher on LSU because I'm a Garrett Nussmeier truther. I think he's a god. He's going to do great things. But God, I'm really struggling right now, and
It's fine,
I
dude.
really apologize. Um, but like I look at these two teams, and when I look at the SEC hierarchy, they were very much on the outside looking in comparison to Tennessee. This opens the door for them to take advantage of that. Prove me wrong if you're Alabama. LSU prove a lot of other people wrong who aren't as high on LSU as I am. But I do think like it makes the situation a whole lot easier for these two teams to find a way into the college football playoff. Like for Alabama specifically, third Saturday in October looks a whole lot more advantageous. And that looks like a win that could really, be a
Yeah.
feather in your cap as opposed to a game where, frankly, you struggled the past few years.
Yes, and I have Alabama at 6 for that reason, a
Yeah.
little bit ahead of LSU because of third Saturday in October. You get that win,
Hmm.
that gets you to the 9-10 win range, and you're pretty much there. You mean you've owned Georgia, but like Georgia hasn't lost at between the hedges since pre-COVID,
Right.
so like something's got to give at that point. Probably Georgia will lose to that game, but the point is like that game that I thought looked like was probably going to be a loss for the Crimson Tide looks more like a win. And if you basically get 1.5 wins better, you're in the playoff kind of like no matter what. So that's why I've got them at 6, and you have LSU at 6.
Yeah, I have LSU at 6, kind of the same thing. Like it just opens up the doors a little bit more widely, I guess, for Brian Kelly to be able to get this team over the hump. Like, I do think the defense is going to be better. I truly do, but I don't know how much better. But I think that if this defense is average in terms, like if you're ranking in the 60s in terms of the college football, like, efficiency rankings or whatever in terms of
Yeah.
defense, this team's going to have a shot at the playoff because we know they can play offense. We know they can score points. Like Garrett Nussmeier's that good. The skill position talent keeps rolling through. Some questions on the offensive line, but I'm not like totally worried about that. Like LSU is a good football team, and like I have them ahead of Alabama because I think they're a better football team than Alabama.
I think that's fair. And I've got a team at number 5 that can score a lot of points. That'd be the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Yeah, they can.
Not biased or anything like that, not because of my relationship or whatever, but like I saw this team play in person. This team's
Yeah.
really good offensively. Yes, you lose Cam Scatabo, but like you pick up another year of Sam Levitt and Marcus Arroyo's system with Kenny Dillingham. Uh, I don't have Arizona State winning the Big 12, but I have them getting in as an at-large. I
Mhm.
feel that they're in a separate category from every other team in the Big 12, where like it's more likely than not that they make the playoff. And
Yeah.
I think that they have the pedigree, they have the brand awareness. People are really excited about this team. I think that like whatever Tennessee had, and this goes in Arizona State's direction indirectly, I think that this benefits the fine folks there in Tempe.
You say it's not a personal thing, but I do believe our close personal friend Kenny Dillingham might disagree. Whatever.
That's
We go back to Homer Hickam. What can you
yeah,
do about it?
I know.
At 5 is where I have Michigan, and I have like kind of much like you. I have Michigan over Indiana in terms of like the Big Ten hierarchy, and like you said, we're getting high on Michigan. Like we think that this program is trending in the right direction in a post Jim Harbaugh era. I think Bryson, like perhaps I'm just getting enamored with the shiny new thing, but man, I'm really excited to watch Bryce Underwood play.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
can I can assure you, like I'm going to be watching a lot of Michigan football this year, a lot more than I did last year. Because let me tell you, it was not a fun experience
No.
watching the Wolverines last year. But like this Michigan team, I think is really trending in the right direction. We know that like yes, you're losing a lot of NFL caliber talent on defense. Michigan's been doing that for a decade, brother.
Yeah.
Like they just replenish it on the defensive side of the ball. You had to get the offense right. I think they've done a good job in making things like that happen. And so if there is a spot where the Big Ten can kind of take that last SEC spot that we were assigning to Tennessee, Michigan is as good a candidate as anyone to be able to do that.
And you're a little bit higher on them than me, but at number 4 is the team that I think the Big Ten that's going to do it, and that'd be the Illinois Fighting Illini.
That's also who I have it for.
Yes, it's like it's the combination of like the Indiana spot being better than Michigan. They're kind of in that same cluster. You have Luke Altmaier back. You got Brett Bielema just being just pure beef out there.
Oh yeah.
Living on meatloaf, just kicking some serious ass. I figured that Illinois is going to be as good as they were last year with all the good stuff that made Syracuse good. I'm getting dangerously high in Illinois here. I think that they're going to be a fantastic team this season.
Yeah, I mean, we both love Illinois. That's why we both have them at 4 here. And like, I do think it's two things, honestly, for Illinois. Like, you and I kind of had Illinois kind of not locked into the playoff, but like we were comfortable having them in the playoff with Tennessee. And to me, like this affirms that a little bit more. Like it makes that path to getting that playoff spot a little bit easier. But on top of that, it also probably improves your seeding. Like
Yeah,
if you were like, let's say that Tennessee was 8 and Illinois was 9. Now you get a home game if you're Illinois, like
exactly.
potentially. Like this is a big boom for Bert and the guys up in Illinois because like now you're not just like the plucky, happy-go-lucky team to be in the playoff. Now you're like looking like a serious problem in the playoff.
Yeah, you go from a team that's like, if you're going to make the playoff, you're going to be somewhere between a 9 and an 11 seed. Now you're basically 7 to 11. So you're opening up the opportunity to have a home game potentially in Champaign-Urbana.
Yeah,
Looking up in the seat, looking up the ceiling, and you got Shad Khan twiddling his mustache and
that's right.
Tony Khan wearing a neck brace.
Of course, always.
All right. At number three, for me, I've got the Florida Gators. Again, they play Tennessee head to head. This gives them a boost to potentially make the playoff. I don't think that they're quite there because the schedule is just so incredibly difficult. But like,
Mhm.
if you beat Tennessee and you get to about 9 wins, I think they could be the first 9-win team to make the playoff.
Yeah.
I think Florida's probably an 8-win team, but again, this takes a huge rivalry game and flips it in your favor. But you got to figure out where you're going to get wins. Are you going to beat Texas? You're going to beat Georgia. You're going to beat Miami. You're going to beat LSU. You're going to beat A&M. And this
Yeah.
assumes you have to beat Florida State, Kentucky, and Mississippi State.
Yeah. And you know, I think safe assumptions, but like not guarantees. So
Right.
like that's the important part. My number three is a team I do not, if I'm remembering correctly, I do not believe you have them on your list. And that's because it's a team that I've been higher on in the offseason than you have been. It's the Auburn Tigers.
Right.
And this is the most variance team I think in the country for me going into the season because I can see a world where Hugh Freeze gets fired at the end of the year. Absolutely can see that being the case of how that goes down. I can also see a world where Auburn wins 9 or 10 games. And if that is the case, like that becomes a lot easier and you look a lot better if Tennessee is not competing in that. That becomes a lot like more favorable to the perception of you in terms of being a college football playoff contender. Like I'm not going to pick Auburn to be in the college football playoff, but I'm also not disinclined to imagine a world where Auburn can make the college football playoff. And with Tennessee out of the mix, it absolutely helps Auburn do that. Again, they are the like supercharged version of Miami. Like the good for Auburn this year can be incredible. I truly believe that. Like if Jackson Arnold was just in a bad situation in Oklahoma, now he goes into a more favorable situation. Hugh Freeze has been recruiting his ass off in terms of the transfer portal and the recruiting trail. Like this is a very talented team. Whether or not that coalesces, we'll see. Whether like obviously they're Coach Freeze is dealing with a lot of health issues right now, so we don't know how that's going to affect the program. We still send him wishes, but like man, I'm fascinated by Auburn, and I know that this is a very good thing for Auburn if you want to live up to that ceiling.
I had Auburn like first four out. I think I had them like
Yeah,
14. I think I had was like in Miami 13. Yeah, Indiana. The point is Auburn was on the cutting room floor. I didn't quite make it because of the
yeah,
variance, but like they get Alabama and Georgia at home. Again, you're not playing Florida this year. Also, they need to play Florida regularly. That's a good rivalry that needs to come back. We'll see.
yeah,
We'll see how that goes. But like, this does certainly help Auburn. I'm right there. I'm just a little bit higher on Florida.
yeah,
So that's fair. And number two, I've got my dogs. I know you don't have them on the list,
yeah.
but this is all about getting that win early in Knoxville. That's Georgia's hardest game of the season. That was the one game on the schedule. I'm like, they're going to lose
You've been
because they
saying all
got,
offseason that they're going to lose that game. Like you have, like we can go back and clip it a billion times. Like you said it a lot.
yeah, you're trying to break in a new quarterback, whether that be Gunnar Stockton or Ryan Puglisi. Now you're going to Knoxville. You're going to a venue that you've won at before. You've also suffered casualties, namely Nick Chubb's knee. But like,
Yeah,
Kirby's largely owned Josh Heupel since he came up from UCF. This helps you, and then you also have to factor in like you get that win, whether that be Stockton or Puglisi. You're playing with a lot of confidence. And then you got to be like, okay, we get Ole Miss at home, we get Alabama at home, we get Texas at home. What's to say that we can't win all of them? What's to say that we can't get the 1 seed? I'm not saying Georgia's going to win a national championship this year, but like this gets you to about 11 wins by basically saying that the one for for sure loss on your schedule is no longer that. It's doubtful, but like you could still win it. So that helps Georgia out considerably. That basically says probably got a 10-win floor, although this team may win
yeah.
8 games and I could be looking like an idiot. It's fine.
Hey, that's the risk we run out here. No, so I consider Georgia more than I did Texas because of exactly what you're talking about. Like that early season matchup against Tennessee, Nico leaving like flips what we were thinking about that matchup, like fully reversal. Like it's a full 180 of what we were thinking about that going, what we thought that was going to be. We thought it was going to be Georgia breaking in a new quarterback and Tennessee having the experience and Nico being at home and all of this stuff. Now the situation is if it's Gunnar Stockton, who I think we still probably assume is going to be the starter at that point, he at least has some reps. He has a lot more experience than anyone that Tennessee currently has. Even if they bring someone in the transfer portal, you got what, 4 months to be able to get up to speed in Heupel's offense and get ready to go, but and like 5 months before you're playing Georgia, like that's not really that easy of a thing, especially because you're going to be in front of a Neyland crowd. And look, Neyland Stadium is a great place to play. It is a great college football environment. That place will also turn on you in a heartbeat. And so, like, if a quarterback comes out there and Georgia's just making him look like he doesn't know like his ass from his face, like they're going to turn on them very quickly. So like, yeah, that narrative has changed for Georgia. So I consider Georgia a whole lot more than I did Texas for in terms of like college football playoff logs. At two, I do have Florida. I have Florida a little bit ahead of Auburn. So I'm also very high on Florida. It is a brutal schedule, but it lightens the schedule a little bit.
Yeah, a
It
little
gives
bit.
you a week that you're a little bit less tiresome. But also like man, I look at what Florida did last year. I think the team is better than it was last year, and I'm pretty impressed with how they navigated the schedule last year. So why the
Yeah.
hell not navigate it again this year, man?
Why not? Do we have the same team for number one?
Oh, of course we do. Of course we
South,
do.
South Carolina, of
South
course.
Carolina, baby, it's Beamer ball.
Beamer ball. We're doing cartwheels in the street with
That's right.
oh man, but yes, this basically takes South Carolina from being the fourth team out of the SEC or the third to being comfortably third or certainly in. Like
Mhm.
I can't envision a situation where South Carolina's it has almost gotten to the point where they're like a borderline lock. Like they've gotten to the same level of a Georgia, of an Oregon. Like they've essentially replaced Tennessee in that category for me.
A 100%. And I also look at it from the perspective of, you know, like you said, like, yes, it makes them more of a lock and it hurts them. But I also think like we talk when we were talking last week at the end of last week about the best college football traditions, we near the top of the list for both of us was, or sorry, at the top of the list for
Yeah,
me was Sandstorm, and like that really came down to the environment in Columbia because it's a hell of a place to play. Like Columbia is a weird place. I do not prefer Columbia. It's not my favorite thing, but like in terms of a college football environment, phenomenal place to go play a football game. And someone's gonna have to go do that now. Like
yeah.
I would go as far to say South Carolina to me, I'm locking them in. I will have South Carolina in my college football playoff field. I'm locking them in right now. I'm also going to lock them into a top 8 seed. I think they're playing a game in Columbia, South Carolina now. And like it's basically like I go down this list and I'm looking at like, all the bits and pieces I picked from these different teams. Like, yes, it opens up a spot. Yes, it helps your seeding. Yes, it helps you in the SEC and like makes that path a little bit easier. South Carolina checks every single one of those boxes. Like this is a huge win for South Carolina.
Yeah, basically they take the spot that I had Tennessee, and like they're going to be the team hosting the 8-9. Like they're going to
Yeah.
be the third team getting out of the SEC out behind Texas and Georgia, in my estimation. They could even get to Atlanta potentially. And even though I didn't have Sandstorm as my favorite tradition, I did have game day going to Columbia and
Yeah.
Williams-Brice twice. So like
Hmm.
it's all checking the box for them. So it had to be South Carolina. I saw this and like honestly, this also helps Lenore Sellers win the Heisman. He's probably my pick to win the Heisman Trophy right now.
Oh yeah. God, I can't wait. I'm gonna hate watch South Carolina because like let's be clear. My love for South Carolina is deeply from an analytical
Oh yeah.
point. Like I hate South Carolina. I'm
I
a
know
North
me too.
Carolina fan. We're the real Carolina. Get the hell out of my face. But like, man, I love this football team. It's a good football team.
It's the border war. It's they're Georgia's their biggest rival in the SEC.
Yeah.
So many bad memories from that. But like, yeah, this is coming up for the Gamecocks. Let's recap our 10 and move on to the middle part of our show. So at 10, I'm gonna scroll back up through my article and read because that's what we're doing today. At 10, I've got Iowa State, 9 LSU, 8 Michigan, 7 Texas, 6 Alabama, 5 Arizona State, 4 Illinois, 3 Florida, 2 Georgia, 1 South Carolina.
Yeah, so I had at 10, I have Indiana. At 9, I have Miami. At 8, I have the Big 12. At 7, I have Alabama. At 6, I have LSU. 5, Michigan. 4, Illinois. 3, Auburn. 2, Florida. And 1, South Carolina.
I love it. And, since Nico doesn't want to give his all for Tennessee anymore, they should just change the sign as they walk out of the stadium from that to "I'm trying, Jennifer."
That's right.
Oh, that's the best I've ever done that. That was
That
so
was
good.
good. That was good.
We got to give Tennessee credit for scheduling Georgia Tech, a non-conference, over Nebraska for a better game. We'll probably do this for a future TIN 10 thing, like best 80s in the sport. Oh,
Yeah.
Danny White's way up there. Danny
Oh,
White's
yeah,
really
he's got to
good.
be. Absolutely.
But yeah, you brought this to my attention. You're like, they basically replaced the Nebraska game with Georgia Tech and the Bobby Dodd Bowl. Obviously, Bobby Dodd played at Tennessee, the
Mhm.
iconic head coach, the namesake of the stadium here in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. That's just a better game than Nebraska. It is.
Yeah, like we there is a world where Nebraska keeps leveling up under Matt Rule. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not saying that Nebraska's hopeless, but I'm already watching Georgia Tech level up. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a maintained program. And like, do I think Georgia Tech's ever going to make the college football playoff? No. But do I think Georgia Tech is going to win 8 to 9 games? A lot. And I think that a lot of, or at least one of those 8 to 9 games is going to be a big upset win. Absolutely. Like that's kind of the model that we've seen Brent Key like absolutely put forth in Georgia Tech to this point. And respect to Danny White in Tennessee for taking that on. Like you could have replaced Nebraska with a cupcake in these situations. Instead, you got to go to Atlanta at one point in this. Like that's not going to be fun. You're not going to have a good time there. Like playing Georgia Tech, like you watch these teams after they play Georgia Tech, the week after they're sluggish, man. They beat the piss out of you, and like it's a tough game. And so like respect to Tennessee for scheduling it. I'm excited to watch these two games, like the home and home between these two. And Nebraska comes out looking way worse for it all.
This all comes back to the athletic directors. We talked about how great Danny White has been. He's been the biggest reason why Tennessee's turned it around because Philip Fulmer before that not so hot there. Jay Batt coming over from Alabama has turned Georgia Tech around considerably.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was, I don't think it was Mike Levinsky. He's the guy at Purdue now, but like they've had different guys there. They finally got a guy back in the building since Dan Radakovich. It's like, okay, we're kicking some serious tail. It's
Yeah.
turning around. And Georgia Tech also could have been like, we're going to schedule a cupcake. We could have done like this. We want to get 9, 10 win games. Our biggest games, obviously, every year is Georgia and Clemson and
Mhm.
Va Tech. Miami, like we got to get ready for those games. Those are all big games. Why do we need to play Tennessee? Well, they're not afraid of this. This is an opportunity for them to build their brand. They can play this at the Bench, they can play at Dodd. It doesn't matter. This is how you build this back to what it was in the 90s under Bobby Ross and George O'Leary.
Yeah, like and we know Brent Key likes some shenanigans and it would be incredible to like have them like in Neyland like playing checkers on the checkerboard end zones and
Oh
stuff like
my
that.
God,
Like
that
I
would
just
be.
want to see absolute shenanigans from this out of them.
And then you go back to Nebraska. I mean, what was it? Trev Alberts left his alma mater
Yeah.
to go to A&M to replace Ross Bjork. So Troy Dannon was in Seattle for like 5 months after leaving Tulane. Now he's
Yeah.
in Nebraska. This
Five
is
months, 5 minutes, what's the difference?
there's things in my fridge that have been there longer than
You're
Troy
right,
Dannon.
100% guaranteed.
And we clean our fridge out pretty good here in this relationship, but it's not an area of strength for Nebraska. I've always said that every team in the Big Ten, the SEC has a comparative, and it's Tennessee and Nebraska are one of the same. I would say that Georgia and Michigan's probably the same. Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Ole Miss. Like
Yeah.
there's levels to this, but like Tennessee is trying. They're trying to make this happen. This got pulled out from underneath them. It serves them to have another big game on the schedule because they don't have an in-state rival in another conference. Like I don't know if Memphis ever joined the ACC, maybe they play them every year. Maybe they play Baylor or somebody else out of the Big 12, but like you got to make this happen. Also, like Georgia Tech's got to play Georgia every year. They've got an 8 game schedule, and they're going to
Yeah.
add Tennessee to this too. Like this is it doesn't matter who wins or loses this game. The fans win, and
Yeah.
that's what this is all about.
No, 100%. And like going back to Danny White, like one of the things I look at is you go back to the initial report that the home and home with Nebraska that was being canceled. And like the reports were initially just like the simple news, like, hey, these games are no longer happening. Like Nebraska and Tennessee are not going to play over the next couple years. And Danny White was quick to jump to Tennessee's defense and be like, No, 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 no. That's not how that happened.
No.
Nebraska pulled this. They canceled it. They wanted out of this. And this only lends further credence to that. Like this is him being like, yeah, we wanted to give the fans like, two big brands, to a game that the fans are going to want. And he went out and he found another one. And like that's a credit to like, well, not only is it like, is it good for the college football fans, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, us who aren't fans of either of those programs, like it's a good thing just generally. But on top of that, like it backs up what Danny White's been saying. Like Danny White's like, we wanted to give the fans, we wanted to give this team a chance to test themselves. Now we're actually doing that. Now, they have to do it without Nico, so we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. But
So these are two programs that used to be in the SEC. Obviously, Georgia Tech left the SEC based on some Bear Bryant shenanigans over recruiting. Bobby
Mhm.
Dodd pulled him out of there. He's like, we're not doing this. They went independent until like the 90s when they joined the ACC.
Yeah.
So even like in like independence, they still played very frequently. I think they played like every year but three from like 64 to 87.
Hmm.
And then they didn't play again until 2016 in the game that we will definitely do this summer with some what do we call them, that film study with the Team
Yeah.
21 trash cans game.
What God, absolute good stuff. I love it.
Oh man, that was a similar moment in my Alvin Kamara hate.
Oh, of course. Of course it was.
100%. But I just this will come back and it will serve and it will benefit and it will be to the benefit of Tennessee and Georgia Tech and it will be to the detriment of Nebraska. The karmic implications of this is good. And even if like Tech loses both, who cares? Like, you have the stones to do this. This basically has people that are like, I'll go to war for you, Brent Key. J Bat, like, let's get you some more money. Let's keep doing
Yeah.
good things. They got Damon Stoudemire getting fired up in the stands.
I mean, and let's also be honest, like Buster Faulkner versus Josh Heupel's an offensive matchup that I want to
Right.
see. Like that's fun
Oh
as
yeah.
hell. I absolutely love that.
And imagine if you kept Santucci. Santucci versus Banks would have been amazing too.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like we'll see what happens on the defensive side of the ball for Georgia
Yeah,
Tech, but
that's
like
fine.
it should be a like I'm excited for it. And like you said, like it doesn't matter to me who wins or loses these games. Like it's just going to be a fun football game, and it's like it's also one of those games. One of my favorite types of games in college football. This isn't a game that College Game Day is going to probably, but it's going to be
No.
a game where like it's probably going to be like when the ratings come out on Sunday. It's probably going to be like the third highest rated game of the Saturday.
100%. And it'll be on ESPN, maybe potentially in prime time, whenever that's playing. For the record, this is 26, 27. This isn't this
Yeah,
upcoming season.
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. So
Schedule's already set this year.
maybe Faulkner's gone in that capacity. I had like another great point before. I'm trying to remember what it was. It's so good. It's just sitting on the tip of my tongue with this. It's it's Monday. Who cares?
Dude, we're fighting it today, brother.
We're fighting it. Now I gotta ask you a question. Let's do some do Haas
Let's
here.
go, man.
I heard Arch Manning talk earlier. I didn't know that's what he sounded like. Kind of sounded like Eli.
Oh, he's got big Eli energy for
He's
sure.
also got some big ears too, man. Looks like some Tommy Lee Jones, XM radio, Andrew Siciliano things, dude. Just
That's right.
big, big, big somjas out there. But Cody, do Host or do Host? Will Arch Manning will Arch Manning be being the undisputed QB1 at Texas be less of a distraction for the Longhorns than it was a year ago?
I'm going to do Host 1S because shouts to Arch Manning, who I don't think we would give like a ton of self awareness points throughout his college football career. He can't hold on to his student ID.
No,
Like, and I do feel for the kid in some ways. Like, some of the stuff that we see come out about Arch Manning, like in that capacity, it feels like he just wants to be a normal college kid, but his last name's Manning and he's Arch Manning. And so, like, you can't do that at this point. And so, like, I do feel for the kid in that capacity, but in one of his more self-aware moments, he was talking like basically saying like he felt bad for Quinn Ewers in the past couple years because there was this Arch Manning sized cloud hanging over him. We saw that in our business, that's for sure. Like anytime Quinn Ewers did anything that was less than becoming, we would have to get something up about like fans calling for Arch Manning because that was happening. People were like, "We let's just turn the keys over now." And the fact that Quinn Ewers still led Texas to the college football playoff semifinals 2 years in a row with that cloud hanging over him is a testament to Quinn Ewers as well. And Arch Manning was sort of giving him his flowers for that. But now that's gone. Like the distraction in all of this was okay, like we have this shiny toy in Arch Manning that was, the number one recruit in the country, 5-star, has the Manning name, has this pedigree behind him. we want to see it. We want to get there. We want to get to this era of the Texas football program. We want to get to it as quick as possible. You're here now. There's nothing to distract you from that. Like, you're here now. And it's all like, there's actually a little bit of a gift and a curse with that too, because now there's not the hope of what Arch could be. Now it's just what Arch is. And like, I'm higher on Arch Manning and what that potential is than you are. You've expressed some doubt is the way I will frame that. But like, and I'm pretty bullish on what that's going to look like. But regardless, no, it's no longer a distraction. Like, I think that is good that it is no longer a distraction. It's not something that's hanging over this program, but it's also a lot more pressure that that's not the case anymore.
I'm much more higher on Arch Manning after hearing him talk because that's the first time I ever heard him talk and everything like
Okay.
that. It came across like Eli, and I can get behind that. If it was more like Peyton speak, I couldn't do it. He's
Yeah.
just Eli is like, okay, I'm kind of sitting back, kind of actually kind of cool, not a raging nerd with a giant head, just
Yeah.
ears. But it's
A
like,
raging nerd who thinks he's the coolest guy in the room, too.
oh, dude, it's Arch is just like, I love Texas, I love being in Austin. This is an awesome place. I want to hang out with my friends and do all this other stuff. He's like having the self-awareness to recognize like, yeah, this is probably tough for Quinn. This is one of my best friends. I'm like, I'm not gonna like sugar. It's just I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is difficult. I didn't ask for this. He didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
This is just the big business of college football and everything like that. It probably makes them better. And my reservation with Manning as a player is just like I just need to see him throw
Yeah.
more. But I think that he has the right offensive staff there with Sarkisian and Milwee to make it happen. Plus he could run. He plays like his grandfather and his dad. So like
Yeah.
he's got that genes going for him. But yeah, very much Du Hast with one S here. Very much in favor of, and I think he's aware that like there could be a backlash for him. I think he's gone from like being like okay, private school kid, baby Huey out there playing against a bunch of just like other rich nerds, kids, parents, and whatever parish New Orleans is in. Oh, I'm playing in the SEC, and I'm expected to make the playoff, contend for a national championship, and be first or second team All SEC behind Nussmeier or Sellers in some order.
No, so you got my head spinning now talking about like the Eli like temperament comparisons
Yeah.
because damn, I think that could be really good for Arch Manning if that's the case
Hmm.
too because you you start to think about the things that Eli had to go through. Like, yes, he kind of just held back and like he just did his job. Like Eli took a lot of crap throughout his entire career, whether he was at Ole Miss or whether he was with the New York Giants. And like to be clear, I was part of that. I
Yeah.
specifically when he was with the Giants, like I was not kind to Eli Manning. I'm a Cowboys fan. What do you want from me? I'm sorry, guys. But like Eli was a consummate professional throughout all of that, and also just kept going out there. He won two Super Bowls like in the face of that, despite throughout his entire career, whether in college or the pros, being well, you're not as good as your brother, you're not as good as Peyton, and that's the exact type of thing that Arch Manning is going to face no matter what happens in his career. He's always going to be compared to Archie, Eli, and Peyton throughout his entire career. Those are going to be the conversations that are happening, and so the fact that like he has that Eli temperament that would seem to lend itself to just kind of letting that stuff just roll off your shoulders, that's a really damn good thing. And like if he comes out early in this season for Texas and let's say they lose to Ohio State and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm sure, First Take and all these places will have segments about like, oh, is Arch Manning already a bust, yada yada yada." He's not the type of guy who's going to internalize that and like take it to heart and like let it ruin him. Like he's just going to be like, whatever, man. We're about to go 11-1. Tough. Like tough for y'all.
No, I think that's what made Eli special. I mean, like that's why he won those two Super Bowls. That's why he was so clutch in the postseason when he got there. That's why he elevated Ole Miss football to a level of respectability under David Cutcliffe that hadn't really existed for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe very briefly under Tommy Tuberville beforehand, before he became a Auburn coach and a senator, and life itself. Go home.
Whatever he is now, I don't even know if senator's the right word.
I don't even know. He's probably got a worm in his brain right now. But but then Peyton was a notorious teeth clencher. He really shrank in those big moments. And I mean, his Super Bowl was over against the Bears, who had Rex Grossman at quarterback. Like you should win that game, and then you won with an arm that didn't work because you had an elite defense for the
Yeah.
Broncos. You couldn't beat the Seahawks in 13. You couldn't beat the Saints in 9. Like couldn't win our national championship at Tennessee.
Shouts T Martin, baby.
Shouts T Martin, man. Yeah, I think this will work out pretty good for Arch Manning across the board. We'll see what happens. Again, like I have Texas like locked to make the playoff. We'll see if they win a national championship. I wouldn't have them as first or second to do it, but they're like
No.
the top five. So that's
Yeah.
really all you can ask for with a first year starting quarterback in Arch Manning.
No, 100%. Like I think, yeah, I'm very bullish on Texas. Like it's going to be a problem once again. Quinn Ewers is gone. My love for the program is not leaving though.
You know, I get older, they say the same age, and this is
That's
false.
how I'm feeling, man. That's how I'm feeling.
So instead of hook 'em, let's move on to some good bull here with our penultimate topic. Dan Mullen decided to open up UNLV spring practice to season ticket holders. This is phenomenal for the brand. This is phenomenal for the fans. I think this is I wish more teams could do it, but I think it's the perfect situation for him at UNLV to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I mean, it's very G5 behavior. Like, let's be clear about that. But like, you're at the G5. Behave like a G5, man. Like one of the things that I think a lot of G5 programs fail to do is take the easy wins and in terms of building a fan base, building a culture, building a program. And like, I look at I mean, obviously they've been a brand for 2 decades now, but you go to Boise, you look at Boise State. Like I think Boise State is the best example. Like there are non-college football diehards who can talk to you about Boise State football because Boise State has made itself not just a local and like, regional brand, it's a national brand as a G5 program. And yes, the success that they've had is part of that, but also like you're doing things to set yourself apart. You have you have some, I really enjoy Boise State's uniforms. I think Boise State has some of the best uniforms in the country, but you also have the blue turf. You kind of have the vibe and like kind of like there's always been a vibe with Boise State stemming from, like the Statue of Liberty play against Oklahoma and stuff like that, that they're just kind of going to be loose and fun. It's going like you establish that brand. And if you're UNLV and you're Dan Mullen coming into this brand, what is UNLV's brand? I don't know. You're in Vegas, so like make it a destination. Make it somewhere like, hey, you're a season ticket holder. Come, you're part of this team. You're part of this program. You're part of the reason we're getting here. That's going to help your NIL investment. That's going to make those people with the deep pockets in Vegas. That's going to get them invested in this program. Like it's not you're not going to get to Boise State overnight, but it's one of those mini stepping stones to get to that point to where you become a national brand as a G5. It's a very good thing for Dan Mullen.
How's that in Vegas, man? That's what's going
That's
on.
right. That's right.
But you're absolutely right. This is how you get the alumni base fired up. I don't know how much money you're going to take from Guy Fieri or Tommy Lahren, but like they can pay you.
Hey, let's have a diners, dive-ins, and drives episode at UNLV Stadium. I don't even know where they play, but yeah.
I think they play at the Rimba. I think that they
Did
did.
they really?
Well, Sam Boyd, like I don't think that they did that. They played there for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Rimba. Maybe they're getting a new thing. I don't know. The point is, UNLV occupies a very interesting space of about five or six teams, Boise included. Maybe we could get out to 12. That like they're G5, but they operate at a different
Yeah.
level. I would argue, okay, Boise State, UNLV, Tulane, Memphis, South Florida when they're good.
hmm
I don't even know if anybody in the MAC really qualifies, but like they
I
have
I
the
think
ability.
Colorado State kind of fits in that
Yeah,
mold a
Colorado
little bit.
State, San Diego State
Yeah.
too. Where like you're basically one phone call away from going Power Four.
Yeah, 100%.
And like you're making the investment, the stadiums are good. There's a brand sort of thing you can recruit. There's things that are working here, but like you got to build off the Barry Odom era and the Marcus Arroyo era, which ended prematurely, which probably shouldn't have. Probably make him even better coach wherever he's coaching next. But like
Yeah.
you're in a bit of a moment here with UNLV football, which, for the record, like probably historically one of the worst teams in the Mountain West. I would say like probably the worst. I think San Jose State's got a better history than them.
Yeah, just a little bit. And like which is crazy. Like that's pretty damning of what UNO like how little UNLV cared, quite frankly, because
Yeah.
San Jose State's a tough job.
Yeah, like out there, the best brands are probably Boise and Fresno. I think they have the best history, and then
Yeah.
Hawaii's got an impenetrable brand.
Yes.
I mean, even Nevada's got a better brand because of Chris Alt and
Yeah.
Kaepernick and everything like that. And Brock Hecking with his mullet,
Mullet down to my knees, baby.
mullet down to my, mullet down to my knees. But this is good. I think this is also indoctrinating Dan Mullen back into the sport. Again, did a pretty good analyst work there, living out at Lake Oconee with his kids, just do his best life after how it ended for him at Florida. Uh, with how good he was at Mississippi State, if he does really well here, he's going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame because of those two places. And there's a dog.
Oh yeah, it's he was here before we started recording, and I called him my emotional support dog, and he heard me getting fired up about UNLV football, so he had to come check on me, see what's going on.
I know his favorite UNLV player of all time is definitely Randall Cunningham.
Oh,
At least
100%.
it
He,
has to
he
be.
he loves a mobile quarterback, man.
He loves him a mobile quarterback, and I don't know if Huron's still there, but Kenni Burns, he gone. We've got our last topic. Got it. I've been on fire today.
That was good.
Kent State moved on from Kenni Burns after 2 seasons. He went a combined 1-23. This is a mid-scandal where the the belief is that like using he was not paying his taxes to pay off credit card or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean that's the most American thing I've ever seen.
I mean,
But
like when like it's just a wild situation because like the details of whatever they're investigating are very scarce. Like it's all very hearsay at this point. Like no one, like Pete Thamel and guy like in On3, like these guys aren't reporting because they don't have that concrete information.
right.
So like it's all hearsay at this point.
Mhm.
But like any kind of scandal when you're going 1-23 is just the funniest thing in the world to me. Like like the one scandal that would make sense is if you were point shaving. Like that's the only scandal that would make sense because you're 1-23. Like, brother, you're taking advantage of a situation where like your life, like, what are you thinking? Like your job security is not good. You've won one game in 2 years. What are you like? It blows my mind that you would I truly Kenni Burns, that's a tough look. And Kent
Um,
State just gets into be even more of a sad sack of a situation.
so he came in from like Minnesota. He was the
Yeah.
running backs coach under PJ Fleck. Former Indiana star back at IU in the early to mid 2000s. I'm going to look this up and make sure I get this absolutely right. The one win that Kent State had, they beat Central Connecticut September 16th, 38 to 10 in 2023. They are currently riding a 21 game losing streak. So
Oh my God.
have not won a MAC game since probably 22, which would have been yeah, the last time they actually 22. Sean Lewis went 5-7 and went 4-4 in the MAC his
This
final
is
year.
why I believe Sean Lewis is a good football coach.
Yeah.
Like Kent State's terrible. Like it is a like this is the worst job in FBS. Like there's no
Yes.
question about it in my mind. And like Sean Lewis had them fighting for bowl eligibility. Like think about that. Like that's you're a good football coach if you can do that. I promise you. And like this is I'm at least happy. My you mentioned the interim's name. I can't remember what it is. If you could please refresh our memory.
Mike Carney, the
Thank
offensive
you.
coordinator.
Thank you. Yes. I think that's smart to maintain some sort of continuity. Like the you're gonna ruin someone's career if like you make a hire right now. Like truly. Like, hey, do you want to take over a 1-23 football team? Like, do you want to take that over? Is that something that, would be enticing to you? And someone who's desperate to be a head coach would take that job. They would go 1-11 or 0-12 once again, and we would just have be running the cycle over and over again. I at least like getting some continuity in the building, someone who's not, doing something nefarious under the table. So, hey, maybe this works out for Kent State. I hope so.
This is like the third or fourth time since we've been doing this show that this sort of thing has happened. So
Yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald being ousted at Northwestern, they basically promote David Braun from within, who just came up from like North Dakota State defensive coordinator. Done pretty good. Tough year last year. Very good first year as the interim.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to see Northwestern be able to get like Ryan Field back and build up
Right.
some momentum. But we know every 3 years Northwestern's gonna have a really good team. They
100%. And I think David Braun is a good coach. Like the team wasn't necessarily good last year, but they weren't a pushover. Like they weren't like a doormat by any stretch of the imagination.
And then you've had like the three most recent ones since that. You've had what Blake Anderson out of Utah State with Nate Drilling going in. Obviously, he didn't get to keep the job. It's Bronco Mendenhall now fired amid scandal. Then we just had Troy Taylor ousted at Stanford with Frank Wright coming in to be like the Jim Grobe for this year. And then Dan Carney is taking over for Kenni Burns and the same sort of thing. Those are all teams that were sub 500. Like it's progressively worse. Like Utah State was like 5-7. Stanford's like 3-9. Kansas State is 0-12.
I mean, bad football breeds bad people, apparently, is what I'm learning.
I'm of the belief one of my biggest philosophies in life is everything bleeds. People suck at compartmentalization.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're getting your ass kicked at home or at work or whatever it is in life, like it's going to translate into every other thing in your life, and you can just tell. Like if this person can't do this, they can't do that. I don't know. It's if it's bad, it's bad everywhere.
Have you ever heard of the spoons theory?
No.
Okay, so the NC State podcast and her family, they introduced me to this, and we use this phrase often, but basically it's just like spoons are used as like a fill-in for like the energy or like the amount of mental capacity that you have in life. You start each day with a certain amount of spoons. And to your point about compartmentalization, you don't compartmentalize these spoons. You have a finite amount of spoons to spend in a given day. And once those spoons are gone, you're out of spoons, man. And so like there are a lot of days you come out of work, it's been a long day at work, you've had 3 or 4 meetings that weren't particularly fun, and you're coming out of it, and someone's like, hey, do you want to go, you want to go out to dinner tonight? And it's like, man, I don't have the spoons. Like I don't have the spoons for that right now. And like I think you can apply that to these college football coaches. Like, man, you just went 1-23. Like, yeah, I don't have the spoons to pay my taxes. Like, I don't have the spoons for it right now.
That's totally different. That's how I use the word. I use bandwidth for that. That's
Yeah.
basically what I use. It's the same sort of thing. But like spoons, that you're talking about like artist the Spoon Man from Soundgarden, Spoon Man, just playing spoons. I came across something with Chris Cornell, like Chris Cornell talking about this, like, yeah, the street performer in Seattle. And he's like, I can write this really great song. I've sold millions of records, but I've never seen anybody captivate an audience quite like artist the Spoon Man.
The spoon man. He had the spoons. He had the spoons.
He always had the spoons. Oh my God. This was episode 167 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere
Bueller,
there's podcasts. What's up?
how many major championships does Rory McIlroy have right now?
Five. Which ones are they? I know you know that. Give us a 5-star review for Rory's championships.
So he has the oh god, I'm gonna butcher this. He has the I know 2014 and 2012 PGA Championship, the 2012 US Open, and the obviously 2025 Masters, and there's one more I'm forgetting and I can't remember
Like
what it
so
was.
Open Championship one probably.
Yeah, 2014 Open Championship maybe. I think it was. Yeah, I think that's right.
You could take a decade off and still be great. Rory
I mean,
McIlroy did
like
it. Tiger Woods did it. It's
yeah,
great.
we love to see it. He's 35. He's gonna win more majors now. It's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Dude, he won his first major championship since I think we've been writing. It's been great.
Yeah,
And you
truly.
got to cover it.
Truly, yeah, I've been waiting. I promise. I've been waiting.
I feel pretty good. Like I had DeChambeau in there. I just threw it up there.
Oh, dude, gotta love the beef. Talk about beef. That's a beefy boy.
Yeah, he is. He rolls up the meat sleeves.
Oh, 100%.
If he won the Masters, his thing is like porterhouse.
Oh God, yeah. But in a porterhouse and a protein shake.
You just drink it through a straw.
That's
Oh man, I'm glad you survived the Masters. So what comes up next? Is it a PJ?
PGA in May, which is again to the point of Rory winning more majors. It's at Quail Hollow in Charlotte, and
Okay.
Rory's won 4 times at Quail Hollow on the PGA Tour, so not bad.
And then in June is that a Open Championship?
June
And
is U.S. Open, and then we finish with the Open Championship in July.
you know where those two locations are at?
Yeah, so the U.S. Open is at Oakmont, right outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to talk to our boss Megan Mealy to see if I can go stay with Mark Powell for the week and maybe cover the U.S. Open, see what I can do there, and then the again bring it all back to Rory. The Open Championship is at Royal Portrush, which is an hour away from Hollywood, Northern Ireland, where he grew up. So.
Yeah, that's great. I hope he makes a really great Masters thing. I hope he doesn't have to get a jacket that makes him fit. He's gonna grow into it. He finally got one at like 36 or whatever how old he is.
35, I mean close enough. 35 and
Is he
like
really 35? God, I'm so washed.
dude, we're getting old, man. It's tough. Like he is literally our contemporary.
Yeah, man, he sure is everything like that. But Nico Iamaleava is certainly not our contemporary. He's just a transfer portal fiend. He's gonna get the NIL because I don't know. He's just gonna false start apparently, and this is false start.